Welcome to the Story Tinker podcast, a place for in-depth analysis of webtoon stories. Co-hosted by sharp, witty, and dare I say thirsty fans, we dive deep into every episode, analyzing character struggles, relationship development, and of course, theories. You can follow the Story Tinker on YouTube, podcast platforms, and social media. For bonus content, sneak peeks, and more, you can support the Story Tinker on Patreon. We are really appreciative of your likes, subscribes, and follows on all platforms. Thank you for listening to the Story Tinker, and let's get started.
Okay, so welcome to episode 55 of Purple Hyacinth on the Story Tinker. And today we have Fwoot and Emma.
Hello, it's been forever. I'm very excited to be back.
Yes,
Hello.
It has. And I kind of feel the season 3 approaching, so I feel the pressure to finish up with the 𝗙𝗶𝗋𝗋𝗋.
Yeah, I've heard not entirely rumors, but Soph on her Patreon has posted like rendered panels.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
seems like it's coming soon.
Yeah, I'm on her Patreon, can confirm. We've gone like 2 rendered panels. That's what I know. I don't check consistently.
It's been 2, but they're there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about them though, because that's spoilers. And she has been streaming more lately, but I genuinely don't expect anything till late July. Sorry, not July, January.
Okay.
I really
I don't expect anything this year. And January is a maybe. I think that Soph is gonna, knowing her, she's gonna make a lot of buffer episodes first.
Mm-hmm. And you know, we also have the holidays coming up, so she may also take breaks for that too. So that might even push into February.
Yeah,
which honestly good for Soph. Take those breaks.
Yep. So anyway, so this episode opens up with Lauren sitting in her office mulling over what she saw in her attic yesterday. She is just spinning her pen. She's thinking about the pamphlets that she found, and she tells herself, I need to get those pamphlets out of my head. Can't let them distract me now. There is a meeting at the Carmine Camellia in 2 days. Doesn't leave me much time for reconnaissance. And now we have 2 days later. So I looked up what Carmine Camellia means. Carmine is red, is another word for red, but Carmine is Carmine. Sorry, Carmine.
Yeah.
And red camellias apparently stand for like love, passion. So I don't know. Yeah. I'm not going to take it too far. Obviously, the simps among us, the shippers among us, you know, have our theories, but
what a great place for a passionate reap meet up. Again, you know, it's like a phantom scythe hideout. There is a lot of red lighting.
Honestly, though, like I think that it would look in any other circumstance. In any other circumstance, I think that this would be a really pretty spot.
Yeah, it's a Japanese garden layout. You know, the buildings also, it's really pretty. So anyway, so here she is. In ninja costume, looking over this, you know, this Asian style roofs in the Japanese garden, and yeah, it is pretty. And she thinks to herself, the Carmine Camellia, with this super determined, badass Lauren look on her face.
Okay, so Carmine Camellia is kind of funny because I never know how to spell it. Like earlier, it was Carmine with an E. In this panel, it's Carmine with no E, and there's a lot of like I guess it's a seesaw on whether you ever include the L in Camellia or not.
So
I guess you go with the actual flower, but it's just like I'm pretty sure it varies throughout the comic and how people talk about it.
So Carmine without an E is the French spelling, and Carmine with an E is English. So that much I can tell. And Camellia,
what I guess from that is that
it's 2 E's. Yeah, 2 E's, 2 L's.
Okay, I have a French keyboard because I study French. And sometimes it will autocorrect when I'm typing to French words. So I personally wouldn't be surprised if who lives in Canada, would have been like typing out all the words, right? And just got a French autocorrect.
That's funny. Yep. So here she is doing some good spy work. And there's an elegantly dressed woman in the inside of the courtyard. And there's 2 guards outside letting another equally elegantly dressed man in. And she thinks to herself, bouncers at the front door, just like last night. So she was scouting, which kudos to Lauren. She's doing her prep work. And she thinks to herself, 10:40, the meeting is about to start. and she dashes around, whooshes around the roof. You see the gentleman tipping his hat. She does some more ninja work, and she's surveying this really, really beautiful garden. And she says, security at the back entrance is new. North Pavilion, third room should be about 50 meters away, well in the range of the bug. And so clearly she planted a bug. We see her putting an earpiece with like a radio receiver. And we see the day before, here Lauren is surreptitiously running around on top of the roof and going into the building, opening a book and seeing that Ryan Fleming's reserved room 16. So I'm looking at the names.
𝗙𝗚𝗚𝗚 or 𝗕𝗏𝗏.
Chris Schaefer, Muriel Shetton something, Sarah Vermees, Cartos Lacombe, John Fitz.
Oh, I know. The interesting thing on this list, I forgot about this because I read 𝗙𝗏𝗏 and I was like, wait a minute. And you were starting to read them and it's like, oh, wait a minute. Isn't there something like suspicious about this list? There is. Chris Schaefer, it's not spelled the same, but in the prologue, the criminal that Lauren was chasing was named Chris Schaefer. However, I think the last names are the same. However, this Chris here has a C H.
Yeah, from what I remember, it was spelled with a
the
K.
other Chris had a K. R-I-S.
Okay. I wonder if it's just like, this is what came to mind, or if it's some kind of clue.
I don't know if it's a clue. Maybe like
it seems like, I mean, it probably she probably like subconsciously just like, oh, here's a name that fits.
Yeah. But I think it would be pretty funny if that dude like actually escaped a while back. It's been like a month since he was arrested. Maybe he escaped and he's hiding out here and his alias is Chris with a CH instead of a K.
I mean, that would be funny, and it would be like right under their noses. And imagine they find him, it's like, how did you not find me already?
Like Lauren, the very person who arrested him didn't find him.
If I like escaped something like that, and I think that I personally would just mess with people, like it'd be pretty funny.
Honestly, like if that dude comes back and is like, at the end of season 3, or like sometime in season 4, and is like, what's up? And like out of nowhere, I'm gonna be like, oh my god, so it wasn't a continuity error. It was actual foreshadowing.
I think that, I mean, we've seen like someone come up that we didn't think that we would see come up again before, that we thought was totally like irrelevant to the like big plot. No, his daughter.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
Yeah, it's just that there wasn't foreshadowing for that. That was genuinely like, there was no way we could have known. But with this,
I mean, this is fair, but like also like I think that I wouldn't be like super surprised if he came up again, especially because of
honestly, for the whole Sandman thing, I don't think it was. I have doubts about whether it was super planned, because the name of Sandman's daughter is really different from the name of the original character, which was Rosa Grayson, and then they changed it afterwards. So I'm gonna like, it's making use of like content that was already in the comic, but I'm not really sure if it was meant to be something that was suspected or whatnot.
Okay.
Actually, maybe it was, because like, but probably more like going into season 2, because he did mention that some stuff changed a couple weeks back. So maybe, but I don't know. I feel like if it was planned from the beginning, maybe the names would have been more the same, but it doesn't rule out the possibility that more or less likely it definitely was planned.
Yeah, I know. I think that also, like, I know that Soph and F were like already like struggling with that, with just like that whole chunk of the. I mean, I forget exactly what the placement of the episode, but like for the last part of the season, like I know that they were kind of struggling to get stuff out, or at least Soph was. So I think they probably. I'm not sure. It's possible that they decided to put that in later. which honestly I'm glad that they did put it in, because I'm realizing like, oh yeah, it's much easier for me to sympathize with Sandman now.
Yeah, I don't really mind it. I don't think it's a bad thing. I was just like, that's something. I just, it's a mystery. I like the fact that if this was a thing, there would be foreshadowing. We could like theorize going up to it.
And I think it's very possible that they're just flippant with names, because if you remember, they didn't have a name for Tim Sake. Now, Tim Sake's a pretty major character, and they gave him a name at the last minute. It was an anagram of mistake. And also the prince didn't have a name till like the last minute either. So I think
he didn't have a name until Fwoot asked them, right?
Yeah. And I was like, oh my god, that was a year ago. Yeah, also 𝗨𝗨𝗨. Names aren't super important here.
All right. So now that we finished our 10-minute discussion on names. So, well, if this comes up later, we have evidence that we thought about it. So here she is, day before infiltrating room 16. She goes in. It's actually, I love this panel because she comes in, she like looms, her shadow looms in the doorway, and she looks giant. So it's just showing, like her power and assertion here.
It also kind of like you see her shadow and it's pointed right towards the vases. So immediately, especially with the outline of the vases, you know what she's going for. And then, going down and seeing the two vases, there's another vase there. Kind of suspicious.
Right. Sorry, it's great. It's great, like foreshadowed, as we were saying. Yeah, so she drops a receiver into one of the vases, and then she shuts the door. She leaves. And so now here she is, back to the present, listening in. And she hears, well, Timmy, it looks like we're a bit early for our merry reunion. And she has Tim Sake and Belladonna walking in. And he's like, call me that one more time. And she's like, and you'll what, kill me? I would love to see you try, Timmy.
I would just like to point out, Bella is one of my favorite characters in Purple Hyacinth, if not like my favorite after Lauren. I love her so much.
Don't be
shy. Like speech on how much I love her.
Don't be shy, Emma. Make her your favorite character. I've already gone all the way.
I love. Okay, it's like it's a really close tie between Bella and Lauren.
Definitely more than Era.
I think the only reason that I love Lauren more is because we know more about her. I really want more Bella backstory because she is like my second favorite. She's one of my favorite characters of all time. Just because like I'm not sure how much like sexism and misogyny is in this world, but I imagine it's pretty similar. Meaning that just to be like second assassin just below Kieran, she would have had to work so much harder. And I can even though it's being an assassin, I can admire that.
I'm just noticing that her shoes are different. That's kind of wow. Not one panel. Anyways, yeah. Because I'm probably shocking some people here. I just want to quickly explain why I prefer Bella over 𝗪𝗏. And it's because we don't really know anything about 𝗪𝗏, and like she cut a glass and she was nice to her driver. I mean, that's not a lot of personality traits. We barely know her motivation too. She just wants to escape what? Escape what? What? Like escape?
Yeah, why? I agree. Like I love
Will, or because her parents are setting her up with Will. It's not even like that thing's not even a forced thing. Like there's, in my opinion, there's no stakes in the Will and 𝗪𝗏 should get married thing being pushed onto Will by Stefan, because it's like it's not even something concrete. Like they're just suitors. Like if it doesn't work, they can just say that it doesn't work out, And
another thing is like even if they were to get married, like what's stopping them from just like secretly having relationships? Like people did that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Also, like if it's Will wanting to be like, his mom wants him to see him married before like she dies, I think his mom would be a lot happier knowing that he's in a happy relationship and not a relationship that she got into, rather than a relationship that she was actually able to witness come to fruition.
Yeah,
right. But
because if that's not the case, then maybe Stefan isn't the only toxic parent in that household.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess the question is how much pressure are their parents putting on them, and how much control do the parents have? And I've said this a million times, like I hope Will's arc is to be able to finally stand up against his dad. So I think that's just
anyways. With Bella, she's just way more interesting. Like her motives /conflict are much more concretely defined, and her motives being like she wants money, but it's also there's a lot of like implications about she wants, and she's much more of a puzzle that you have to figure out. And I think the reason I like her more than Kieran is because she feels more morally gray than Kieran. Like Kieran knows what he wants, right? And he's made his stance specifically that like he wants to sort of take down the terrorists in the PS, right? But Bella is still fully entrenched in that culture, and like she's still like fully, like from what we can tell, pretty much into it. It's only like we've only recently gotten the hints that like it's like, oh, maybe she doesn't like this as much. But I prefer, or like I relate to Bella's story more because it's more like it's a story with her and her mental demons, whereas Kieran, it's him and his physical demons. Because Bella, like we know that she, for real, like since she was a child, grew up in this. Kieran would have grown up in this starting around teenhood. So I also think
when
that
you mentioned her more. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I also think that Bella has sort of her adoptive family in the PS. You know, the circus and then Redcliffe, and those like even if they weren't good family to her, it still does play a part because these are the people that she grew up with. Whereas Kieran seems to have no real personal attachments to the PS. So like after the protectee, but they're dead, so probably. So, you know, I'm just like Team Bella, you know. I also think she doesn't get as much justice as she deserves. So
no, because so many people like hate her. And when you really think about it, are her and Kieran that different in like stuff that they've done? Like I get that Bella is more morally gray, and I honestly kind of like that. She kind of, I don't know if either of you have read Not Even Bones, but she kind of reminds me of 𝗪𝗏. And just like season. Yeah, I don't know. I love Bella a lot. And I think that people like unnecessarily hate her, which in my opinion could just be like, you know, an internalized misogyny thing. But also like I mean it makes sense that people it makes sense that people hate her, but also at the same time I feel like people hate her too much.
No, I wouldn't say it's an internalized misogyny thing. There like it's not always that. Like it could be like, oh yeah, like people don't like her because she killed Harvey, and that's, you know, one of the good guys. Like, you know, not everyone likes the villain, and that's okay. You know, Bella has done some pretty horrific stuff, and unlike Kieran, we don't really get to see the human side of her that often, and that's only really recently. So, you know, from the beginning with Kieran, we knew that he had regrets. That is how we define Kieran in our minds, and it's you know, it's much harder to change those ideas of a character further down the line when you have like a concrete idea of them and there hasn't really been anything to test that. And with Kieran, we haven't really had anything test that perception of him. But with Bella, from the bat, she was introduced as, you know, the cold-hearted femme fatale character who doesn't hesitate to kill people. What she wants is money, like, and she kind of lives up to that persona up until like mid-season 2. And so, you know, that's really what you expect from her. And she has lived up to that character, whether it's an act or if it's actually her, it's, you know, kind of still up to the interpretation of the person. And, you know, it's only recently, again, in the newer episodes, which are very few, where we've seen a more vulnerable side of her. And so these perceptions that people have of her, like, they are possible if changed, but again, they're going to be basing them off more of the more consistent Bella that we've seen rather than the newer Bella that we've seen, because the newer Bella that we've seen hasn't really had that much time. And although the newer Bella, again, does present more vulnerable stuff and it does hint to more stuff going on with Bella, like, I think it does kind of make sense why people would still dislike her.
I mean, I think that it's fine for people to dislike her. I just think that they shouldn't, I don't know. I feel like I've seen a lot of like super harsh hate for Bella, which, well, it does make sense. I think that it goes sometimes a little bit too far. I've seen a lot less recently, especially with the, you know, I think the people are very quick to judge characters who we don't have a story for yet, which I hope that people will stop doing eventually, just because I think that once you like get a character, like even like before you even get their story, I feel like you should be up to being able to like sympathize with them, or not even just sympathize with them, but just like not hate them.
I mean, again, like you mentioned Herman earlier, right? I think it's kind of similar to Herman. Like he is definitely one of the more hated characters in the fandom. But if you like took a step back and didn't see the story from like the perspective of Lauren or Kieran, you'd be like, wait a minute, he's kind of right, you know?
I mean, no, I kind of do like recently have agreed with him a lot more. Like, oh yeah, I think that he is also trying to protect Lauren.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like it's frustrating. Yeah, it's frustrating when people like are solid in their convictions and like completely unwilling to move, but like their convictions can be justified given like what we've seen in the comic. And you know, like even if you don't completely agree with them, I don't think we can purely just chalk these issues up to like internalized misogyny or sexism or whatever. Like there's a multitude of factors and not everyone perceives the story the same, so it's a very complex issue.
So anywho, Lauren recognizes the voices and Sake says, shut up, 𝗪𝗵𝗱, let's just go upstairs. And she's like, Sake, what is he doing here? Which is like the guy, right?
Yeah, he exists to troll you, Lauren.
Poor Lauren. I mean, not poor Lauren, because honestly, she's probably happy that she, you know, can get more information. So yeah, this is like,
yeah, Sake's mouth is so loose, like literally so loose. Like he will tell you everything. He'll probably like gaslight you half the time, but he will be telling you stuff.
Yep. And then she thinks to herself, wait, 𝗪𝗵𝗱, that's the name of the assassin who killed 𝗪𝗵𝗱. So now she's meeting her because, you know, we met Bella before, but she hasn't. So they're by the door and she thinks the one Kieran said was involved in a Apostle 7 weapons operation. And Bella tells the guard, we're with Flemings. And she thinks back to herself, note, associate will return to Lord Hollis in 2 weeks. That is, I don't remember what paper it was on. It was in Fleming's room, right?
I think
it was in one of their rooms.
I'm pretty sure it was in Fleming's room, like underneath the bed.
Yeah, so she thinks to herself, he's the associate. That's why he suddenly resurfaced. And she thinks entering through the back door and the guard knows them. They're going in. I thought a high-class restaurant was a weird choice for a phantom-side rendezvous, but it seems they're friends with the staff. So, okay, you know, is this a PS-controlled restaurant? Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called when like, you know, the mafia like puts money into businesses to like kind of hide illegal money. Is it money laundering? Maybe.
I mean, I think money laundering is when you hide money through other businesses.
Yeah. Like so I wouldn't be surprised if oh yeah, money laundering is the process of charging large amounts of money obtained from crimes such as drug trafficking into origination from a legitimate source. It's a crime in many jurisdictions, whatever. Okay, yeah, money laundering. I wouldn't be surprised if the PS like set up the Carmine Camellia or eventually bought it, since they've only been around for 10 years. And it's a good way to launder some money, you know, and scam rich people.
Honestly, I wouldn't really be surprised either. Like, they've got money.
I just love it, right? It's like, I mean, I don't know if the Phantom Side has money, but I wouldn't be surprised because so many radical groups, they're like, we're going to fight for the people. We're going to, you know, equally distribute money. And then they end up being the corrupt rich dictators 5 years later.
They're importing like, who knows how many like tons of nitro from overseas. They got money.
And maybe when they started out, they didn't, but they do now.
Yeah. You also got to maybe when they started out, you know, because all the Snapdragon members that we know of or suspect are all super rich.
Yeah, they've got like plenty of money to spare on this stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
It's like, you know, they've got so much money. You kind of gotta wonder where it's coming from, you know?
People paying for overpriced pieces of steak. So anyway, Bella goes in. She's like, you just got back, so I'm going to give you a free pass. And slams the door. But know that when underdogs bark at me like that, she slams him against the door. Yeah, sorry. That when underdogs bark at me like that, the next thing you know, they're squealing because their guts are all over the floor.
Oh my God, bro. I literally just realized, Mindy, that she like slammed him against the door. I literally thought that she was taking off his coat or something. Like this
I know,
entire
it was
this
really
episode has been out for more than a year, and I was like, oh, Bella, that's so nice of you for taking off his coat. But no, she has like her knife at his throat. What?
good.
I mean, honestly, like Tim is a pretty scary guy. Like
He looks like an egg. I would.
he does.
I
No,
have spaghetti
he
arms,
does.
but I would fight him in the street.
No, I would too. He looks like an egg. I mean, he's pretty intimidating. But like, I don't think like I think that like there are a few people that Bella is afraid of.
Definitely not afraid of Kieran.
Oh, for sure not.
Also, by the way, this is the second time Tim Sake got slammed into a wall in like 2 days.
It could be. It's possible that there was more.
My agenda is hot women slamming Tim Sake against stuff and almost killing him.
Yeah,
But he's dead. I mean, he will be dead. Sorry.
That's why Bella's my favorite character. Okay, Mindy.
I mean, honestly, like not to say that I'm glad that she killed him, but
you're glad she killed him.
Okay,
now
that's
Lauren
a
has to
discussion-
go.
That's a
Now
discussion
Lauren has
for a
to
later
get her.
episode.
Yeah, I mean, but
Fine.
the thing is that Lauren has to get information other places now, and it's going to be much harder for her to get information, which means that we're going to get to see how far she's willing to go for information.
I think
Mhm.
I think Tim Sake being killed off had many pros, but also many cons. But it's a conversation that I think we should save for another episode. I hope I'm signed up for that episode. I should probably check.
Probably are.
Yeah,
Nice.
chances are.
So yeah, so she ends up, so instead of ordering me around, why don't you tell me what's up with that cop? And unless you want to have that conversation in front of the messenger. She's not having it in front of the messenger, but she is having it in front of the guard, but whatever.
I mean, they're probably like they're probably paid a lot of money to just not to forget everything that they see there. So
Right. So Lauren's like, her eyes are like giant. And, guard shuts the door. And she's like, damn it, I can barely hear them. Guess I'll have to follow them in. Which is like, yeah, they're literally talking about her. It's like, but the guard. So she looks around and she thinks the sidewall should be his blind spot. And she puts the radio receiver back in her duffel bag, hops around, jumps onto the next roof, does some zigzagging, jumps into another roof. We have a nice shot of her legs, some more running and she basically jumps into the garden while the guard is yawning. And then there is a crunch and the guard hears it and is concerned. And then we see Lauren with stretch marks all over her face because she has landed in the middle of a sand garden. And sand gardens are beautiful structures where you make nice, delicate patterns in the sand. And if you step on it, it's very obvious that you stepped on it. So
I think that this episode has some of the best like funny Lauren expressions. Like I used to review this episode if I just like it's great. I love this episode.
yeah, it's very funny. So meanwhile, Tim Sake is saying she caught on that I was lying during the interrogation and somehow guessed my involvement with the Phantom Science and Allendale train station. And Lauren's trembling, looking at her very clear handprint in the garden. She's like, crap, forgot about the sand garden. And now she's like, he's messing it up. And he says, didn't matter because no one believed her. And the guard is peeking in to investigate. She even got demoted, haha. I'm like, haha, yourself, Tim Sake. And he's peeking in. He clicks on his flashlight. Lauren, who is now behind a rock, is freaking out. Yeah, the expressions are hilarious. And she's thinking just like basically cursing in her head, totally panicked at the approaching guard. While Bella is like, demoted, why? She says, she smashed me so hard against the mirror that it shattered in front of all her colleagues. But that you should have seen the look on the cop's face. They found my blood on her hands a few days later. So proud of himself. The crazy bastard was desperate to prove me guilty. Oh, well,
I remember
ended
reading
there.
this episode and thinking I scrolled down and I was like, wait a minute. Like I thought it cut off and I realized, oh, that's supposed to be the cliffhanger. Like no brain cells. Like, okay. I think people had theorized that like Lauren had tried to shoot Sake or something because we got panels of like, I think it was in episode 48 where we had a panel of like, it was Cop Lauren over like Tim Sake and he was like bleeding out. And we were like, Lauren definitely shot Tim Sake. and then tried to play it off.
I mean, like, knowing her, she would do exactly that. Like, she's the type of person to like shoot someone in just like when she's upset and then realize, oh wait, maybe I shouldn't do that. I mean, especially if she's like really upset, I think that she would do that.
I don't know. She's not the person who has resorted to deadly force yet.
Yeah.
You know, because Kieran very conveniently always takes the cake for her. You know, like he's already morally gone out the window. He does not need to worry about having someone's like life, you know, that he like directly, like, you know, eye contact, slash the throat, you know. But Lauren, yeah, she blames herself for Allendale, but like she herself hasn't directly killed anyone yet. And I don't think that she has the guts to, at least at this point in the story, because I think there'll be some emotional climax where she has to kill someone. And, you know, she kind of has to do the thing that haunted like Kieran forever, you know. But
I wonder if she'll turn to Kieran for like comfort.
Yeah, but like Kieran always does it for her, so she doesn't have to morally dirty herself, I guess. I
can't wait for the day when she does.
I think like, oh yeah, I think if she like did have a gun to Sake's head and like was feeling the temptation to like shoot him in the head, it would be like she's holding the gun there and she's not really like questioning like, do I want to kill him? Because like, yeah, she has all that anger, she wants to kill him, like she wants him to be dead, but she's also like realizing that like, or like she's thinking to herself that it's like, is this what I want to do to myself? Like, do I want to let myself give in to this anger and, you know, whatever. And yeah, she's not really good at those temptations as she became Loon, but like, you know, becoming Loon, I think, and actually killing someone are two very different things. And when Sake does eventually get, you know, Capri Sun and gets the slice to the cheek, actually, not the throat, she does want to go help him. Like she doesn't want to see him die. So maybe I should even take back she wants to see him die. Like, because like she wants him to be brought to justice, but I don't think she thinks that means death. And that does tie back into PH kind of giving crumbs of the death penalty theme. Like, is death justice? And you know, like we kind of see this reflected with the royals, as the death penalty, we know canonically it was a point to include this, that it was legal under King Edward's rule, and now it's not legal under King Philip's rule. So, you know, there's debate definitely around if, you know, it's a moral thing or whatever. And I think it might be foreshadowing to Kieran having to make a choice. I don't think that Kieran choosing death or sacrificing himself as an act of death, or like by like dying, is a good redemption. And I don't think you can really find justice through that, because, you know, him dying doesn't make up for, like, it doesn't bring back all the lives that he took. It doesn't bring back, you know, all the families that he hurt and all the friends that he took away from others. So it's kind of like, even though it wasn't really his fault, I think he is somewhat accountable. You know, he was the middleman, but like, you know, still it's very rough, and I'm curious to see where PH takes it. I don't really like this conversation anymore because I've had to be in it so many times that it literally could go anyway. But like, I mean, being in the PH channel for like a year and a half, you see it a lot. And
I was literally discussing this week with my husband. I was once again trying to defend Kieran, and my husband was once again saying Kieran is a horrible person, and, you know, why are we simping over him?
It's a mess. I think I've been on both sides of the conversation many times because
I have as well.
But it's like, basically, bottom line, Kieran, death through or redemption through death to me is the same as having the death penalty, and I don't think that the death penalty is a great way to serve justice because you're ultimately just still taking a life at the end of the day. And so, you know, like Kieran's still dying at the end of the day. What do we have to gain from that? You know, another person dying already on the mountain of deaths that he caused. Like, yeah, the people of Ardhalis are going to hate him and they're going to want him dead. But, you know, another dead person doesn't really help anyone.
Well, anywho, I have to go to that lovely party. So thanks so much for joining, and we'll schedule 56 another time. Hopefully not in another month. And yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Enjoy your party, Mindy.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, Emma.
Good night.
And we have fun. Good night.
Thank you so much to my current patrons: Susie, Lady Libris, Lily, Jenny, Haley, Maria, Molly, Veronica, Emily, Joe, Rochelle, Saucy Tuggles, Meg, Ann Rose, Priya, Alexa, Misty, Laura, Joanne, Patty, Jen, Emilda, Esther, I'm Watching You, Taurus, Poppy Seed, Marie, Jen, Emily, Jean, Jen, Erin, D, Kate, Lily, Beckett, and Duranda. Your support is truly appreciated.